From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's AMN Drive Time, brought to you by Aishin.
AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishin, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit AishinAftermarket.com for more information.
Mark, welcome to AMN Drive Time, sponsored by our good friends at Aishin.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it. Excited to be here today.
Well, we're glad to have you here at our headquarters in Akron, and you, of course, are just right down the street, our corporate neighbor. So, Mark, you are originally from Madison, Alabama, and you worked your way to Vanderbilt University for undergrad and are now a CEO and president of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, the pride of Akron, Ohio. Can you take us through your journey from Madison, Alabama to CEO and president of the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company?
I can, Bill, but how long is the podcast? Based on the color of the hair, it might take a while
That's
to walk through those weeds.
We got all the time in the world.
So it is. No, I said I grew up in Madison, Alabama, actually down the street, around the corner from the Dunlop plant. So my dad worked for Dunlop. He was there for 40 years. So I grew up in a household of my mom yelling, "Take those shoes off before you walk in this house." So carbon black was a known entity to me, as were every other day something about a Banbury going down. So so that part went in the genetics pretty good. And then I think you know, but my grandpa was a mechanic. He had just a single one shop on Clinton Avenue in Huntsville. So I grew up every day after school being in my grandpa's shop. So I grew up a car guy, pure and pure, right? And that nice smell of the Fastenal cleanser is still, you can think, every time I smell that, I think about my grandpa and his shop, right? But
That's awesome.
it's, no, so growing up there, and then so I went to Vanderbilt for electrical engineering, and then interned actually in TVA. At that time I thought I might have been a power engineer, but I came out of electrical, worked for Pratt & Whitney in space and defense, designing jet engine control systems. And it was a little bit slow. We weren't making that many engines a year. I enjoyed the engineering piece, but I wanted to be in manufacturing. So went back to school to Tennessee, came out and joined TRW down the road when it was in Beechwood, Lyndhurst. And so super similar to Goodyear in terms of, you know, a very, very historic and iconic company in its time, although it's now ZF, where it merged in together, but heavy capital, you know, hot forgings, castings, the sewing machines from the airbags, but the CNC machines, the welding, and just very similar. And the two things that are very similar about both companies is a pride of everybody working there after so many years. You know, 126 for us at Goodyear. It was more than 100 in TRW, and it is about the people, right?
Yep.
So first lessons of being third shift supervisors, it is all about the people, right? And it's still all about the people today, Bill. And so growing up in there, really had the honor and privilege, and sometimes the nightmare, but of living and working all over the world. So, you know, drugged my kids around the world and lived in Europe twice, lived in China 4.5 years, but getting to understand the automotive and the adjacent industries really in different parts of the world, and what makes people tick, what makes businesses tick, and how we go to market. And coming back, then ultimately, I get a random phone call from that little truck that comes to everybody's house 2 to 3 times a day at Amazon, and asking me to join them. And so I took a leap and left ZF and headed out to Seattle. And it was a great experience of learning that part of the supply and logistics distribution. I had all the distribution centers, real estate, a lot of engineering, and the automation and the starting of, I call it machine learning. Those other 2 letters, AI, are very fancy these days, right? So I like to call it old-fashioned machine learning. But it really opened my mind differently, right, of how we do things in business, of used to doing our clipboards on the shop floor, doing our checks of inventory, and making sure everything went in and out in a very paperwork fashion, into seeing a whole new world of how things worked, a whole new world of working with third parties that are delivering to you, and you in turn delivering to others, and it was I really enjoyed it. And in the meanwhile, kind of an infamous guy of automotive, Sergio Marchionne, was calling me, asking me to come and join Fiat Chrysler. And it got pretty compelling, and so I came and joined. I'm a Jeep guy. My first car was a Jeep CJ5. I still got it down the road at Akron here, and it's really being a part of that for 6 years until I came to Goodyear was amazing. And through technology disruption, a lot of the same transformation things were working in Goodyear. So the end of that long story, I get a call from Goodyear, about a year and a half, it's been more than a year and a half ago now. I've been here 9 months, and it was really a privilege to be asked to enter that process for such an iconic company, and a little bit of heartstring pull with my dad having been in the tire business on the manufacturing side. And a lot of the challenge we've got at Goodyear are things that I've been a part of in TRW and ZF, and then on the front end of Amazon, and then back end doing the same things at FCA, right? And in some really historic companies that are really finding their way in the new world. So, and the more people I met at Goodyear, and then the ability to come 77 miles across the lake, plus about 30 to get to Akron. It's just, it's a great company, and it's been the best decision I've made to come and join this company.
Terrific. And we talked a little earlier, you're a DIYer as well, right?
I am. I said, growing up in my grandpa's shop, I always liked to tinker with cars. That CJ5 that I've got, my dad had kept it 25 years, Bill. After I went off to school, and one of my high school buddies wound up buying it on a random weekend, just caught my dad. I was super angry. I was like, what the heck? He goes, you haven't done anything with it yet. But when I rejoined FCA, my mom made a few phone calls. Turns out one of my dad's best friends had bought it off of him. And when my dad passed, he sent it to me, and I was ready to work on it for the weekend. I love to work on the cars. I got a '69 Coronet, and I've got the CJ5, and then I actually have an ancient Rolls Royce from 1986 that was Aretha Franklin's, which is pretty cool. But that CJ5 rolls up in the driveway. Mom ships it up from Alabama, and the gas tank was sitting in the back seat. The floor pan was rusted out, and there were a lot of rust holes there for a Southern car, not a Midwestern one, right. Man. And I was like, "Whoops, this is beyond my capabilities." The rest of them, the Coronet, I love to work on it. It's a lot of fun.
Terrific. So, Mark, at Stellantis, you oversaw the introduction of the first electrified Jeep in the U.S. market. How can that experience help Goodyear capitalize on the shift towards EVs and the demand for tires that support new vehicle technologies of all sorts?
It's exactly parallel, right? I mean, we're super adjacent in the tires for that, but there's a lot of things the vehicle OEMs rely on us and the tires to help. The ride and handling, the noise and vibration, these are things we've been doing for 100 years, right? Yep. But you enter in the rolling resistance and the need to everything that can help that battery last longer, everything that can help the noise, like the foam and cushion in the inside, and helping with those things are absolutely paramount. The other piece, though, is it's a whole new world of weight, right? Everything has been lightweighting in auto vehicles, the aluminum, the magnesium, the plastics, and all this, and now you put a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 pound battery on there, and it's a whole different world for us in the tire business, right? So for me, on the Stellantis side, a couple learnings, right? One is how to go to market, with our B2B customers. So for the dealerships, it's like, how the heck are we going to put these down, right? Especially here in the U.S. market, coming from a company with storied V8 engines, right? The Hemis and all the fun stuff, into going to how do we all get our minds around, right? The dealerships and the end consumers and ourselves, that this is a fun product too, right? And so first it was how to market them together with the dealers. Second piece was how to make this technology change and not mess it up, right? And what are the hidden hiccups that we had, and big things around that weight of the vehicle, the dynamics, the crash, the range, all these anxiety things that come about, whether you're a producer, the middleman, or the end consumer. And so taking all those learnings that we've had, right? And we had some hiccups, right? We had a heck of a time putting down those Chrysler Pacifica minivans back at the beginning. We didn't know how to market them, right? And then there was some government incentives that helped a little bit, but you're not going to make an industry off a government incentive, right? It's a short-term play that, quite frankly, we struggled with. So what we decided to do was take an iconic product like the Jeep Wrangler, and specifically the Rubicon. I said, let's do it on the Rubicon where there's a natural pull, people love them, The incentive can help with that. And then let's partner with other folks, right, to get stuff so that it can be better. And tires were a key part of that, by the way, right, around the rolling resistance and to help get that there.
Yep.
So from that, actually, as we launched that was the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon PHEV, and I may or may not have kept that vehicle. I did pay for it, but I've got it. So we still have that in Akron, right? And it's a great vehicle to drive around in. And it does have my Wrangler Duratrax, just to give that plug as well, which are also great on it. But, there's a lot of learnings there, for sure, for all of us, right? For us as the manufacturers and for the distributors of how we sell our products. And when we look at Goodyear, and it's so many of the products that we have are the electric drive 2s that are coming out now that have the learnings for that. The sidewalls have to be so much stronger to handle the weight. On a plug-in hybrid to some degree, but on a full battery, they got to be super oomph, right? So you don't have flat spotting, so you don't have the challenges with the durability aspects. And it's a whole new realm of compounding that we're working on here in Akron with this polymer cluster to continue really being the masters in compounding.
So let's step back to Amazon. As Vice President of Customer Fulfillment, Distribution, and Real Estate, you led teams focusing on advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, and automation methods, right? What lessons can you take from your experience there with these next generation technologies and apply to Goodyear's manufacturing, supply chain, and distribution networks?
First and foremost for us, it's the same issue at Amazon, and it was more about repeating, right? Picking and pulling 300 items an hour, right? Does a lot to a shoulder, right? Depending on your height. And then for us in the tire plants, right? It really is a lot of heavy products. Same thing, repetitive moves, very heavy and having to go up and down. So I think that one of the areas that Goodyear and the tire industry in general is much better is on the ergonomic side, right? Of making sure people's joints are protected. But it's still a lot of lifting. So I think that learning on the automation and combining some of those robotic lift assists or robotic automation and some of the things that your body can only handle so many moves a day, right? So that's step one on a safety basis. The supply chain and logistics side of it, of us getting more sophisticated of where we're placing products together with our distributor networks, right? To make sure we got the right tires in the right place based on where the car parks are, which replacement cycle they're in, and working together with the distributors to make sure they've got the right mix of products always in stock at the right place. Because every time we touch one of those tires and have to ship it across the country is $20, right? For somebody. And so distributors don't like that, we don't like that, right? So we've got to do it so everybody can maximize the value of the supply chain. And there's just a lot of learnings from that on Amazon, right? It's pretty sophisticated algorithms. We're working really heavy with that. I think when we look at some of our operations in Europe, this MES system has been put in place where we can tell internal to factories exactly where things are. We've got less stockouts. The OEE or the equipment efficiency in the plants are much stronger. We're putting that into the U.S. right now, as well as in our Asia plants. But I feel really good that it's really going to help us be a leaner, meaner, and a faster machine, for distribution and ultimately the end consumer.
And you're just back from a big trip to Asia, right? We
are. Eye bags are still there, man, after almost a month. And went to Eastern Europe, and I've been over to Europe once since I started, hit the second part of Europe into our Eastern European facilities in the Middle East, into our plants in Turkey, and then headed on into China and then to Japan. So it was really interesting to see that market. I lived there for 4.5 years, but I haven't been back to China since pre-COVID, since 2018. Virtually almost daily back in my prior life, but not taking the plane.
Right.
And it was really, really impressive to see how much that marketplace has changed, right? With the EVs there, we're at a much slower pace here just because of charging stations, people's desires and wants, and the affordability. They're much more affordable in China now, right? They've invested way before the rest of the world in the battery technologies, and it's really, you can see the difference. And I tell you, that business is really growing for us, Bill. We're growing 22% a year. Great EV fitment wins for both local and export. and using those electric drive 2 technologies, right, all around the world. That a lot of it's developed here in Akron as well as Luxembourg, not just in China.
How many plants would Goodyear have worldwide?
I think we've got about 55, 57 traditional plants. Then we've got our retreading operations and that as well.
Goodyear is about more than just tires, of course. You've developed everything from foam cushions and shoe soles to aerospace hardware and medical devices, right? People don't think of Goodyear in that regard, but being a local Akron guy, I know Goodyear's in lots of things. Are there other industries you're looking at that could advance or evolve the tire industry as we know it?
I think part of it is we really, at the moment, are really focusing on our core, right? Which is to be the best in tires. Yeah, my mantra, let's get back to being number 1 in tires. And that's about racing performance that ties into taking those technologies and putting them mainstream. You see it in a lot of our technologies today, whether it's the Weather Ready 2s that use a lot of our race technologies to really be best in class in the wet performance. The same thing on electric drive, the same thing just really across the portfolio. But we've got, so focusing on the core, and it really is about our prowess in terms of the chemical mixing and the compounding I mentioned before, being a key leader in this in the polymer cluster here in Akron. But those innovation centers around the world, it's pretty impressive from that standpoint. And then, we still, from the connected tire standpoint, right, it's still very important for us with these wins we've had with Tesla. But having the technology inside, right, the sensing in the tires that can talk back and forth with the car, that as well we can use it with our commercial fleet customers as well, just to track and improve the overall cost of ownership, for our big fleets as well as last mile customers. So all of those things have been really great enablers for us. And our tires as a service, we're coming out of the pilot phase of that now, and we've gotten actually every customer that we had that did the pilot signed on for 5 years with us. So just hand in hand, it's great for us, it's great for them. It's kind of a subscription type of service where we have the tires, we take care of it in total. We're monitoring that for anything that's happened, auto inflation, and just keeping them there. Not in a manual way, right? But us being able to do that remotely is super helpful for folks. But for me, it is about us focusing on the core right now.
Would you change out a passenger tire or a standard tire with, say, a snow tire too? Is that baked into it for certain parts of the country?
No, absolutely, and that's exactly what we're doing with that former employer of mine. Right, we do actually close to 1,000 appointments a day with them on their last mile fleet. So we're able to use our retail centers in the off hours to go out and service their fleets, taking care of that, from basic warranty work, not just the tires. We're doing more than tires, we're doing service too. But in the right parts of the country, changing them to the winter tires, taking care of that. And we're also working on some really cool developments with specialty applications like that. A last mile tire that has on the road nonstop in different use cases of grades and weather conditions, everything else. So that's the other part of that, focusing on the core tech that we're working on now.
Sure. Would that be heavy duty too, or just automotive?
Also all around, right? So taking a look at that for both the middle mile and long haul applications. Sure.
And we talked briefly just before we sat down. Goodyear, like a lot of automotive companies, you're both a consumer brand as well as a B2B brand, right?
We really are. And it's because for us, we say we've got the customers, we got the consumers, right? Our customers, by far and large, are the amazing distributors that we work with, right, around the country and around the world. And it's important that we're in good lockstep together. We've got good data communications back and forth, right, so that we can use the learnings together to say, what are the right tires in the right spot? What are we missing? Where can we do things better together? How can we go to market and everybody make more money together, right? And make sure we're around for the next 125 years.
So you've mentioned it, Mark, and we all know it is, but talk about the most important asset of Goodyear, which is the team there.
Yeah, it really is our people. It's what drew me to the company. You said you get the heartstring pull of growing up in a tire family. But the more and more people I met, Bill, from Goodyear, right, and that pride of working for Goodyear. So many people are multi-generational folks, and so many people come back to Ohio in their homeland or go back into the Luxembourg area, wherever they are in the world, right, you feel that and you see that pride in everybody that works at Goodyear on my trips around the world. And also that not just pride with Goodyear, but pride in the communities they're living in, right? Helping to sponsor and do things in the community. It's something ingrained in the culture, and then wanting to make sure that we've done our thing to make sure Goodyear's around for the next 125 years.
Having grown up in Akron, right? Always a lot of pride of being part of the Goodyear team. A lot of Goodyear pride.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Goodyear pride, one of the great symbols of Goodyear, of course, is the blimp. I would just be curious, you come from various places, now you got the blimp as one of your assets. What are your thoughts about the great Goodyear blimp?
Yeah, so it is about to have 100 years in the air. Not that same one, by the way. That rubber would be a little worn out, but it is. We're getting ready to celebrate the 100-year here coming up. So, and it goes all the way back to the days when Goodyear actually helped make or did make a lot of the balloons from like the Macy's parade and these kinds of things. It's another piece of the technology, right, that Goodyear's been a part of over the years. But when I came in, it's really one of the most valuable marketing assets that we've got in the world. The challenge that I've given to the team is like, can we put inflatable tires on the side where people will know that blimp does mean equal tires as well, right? Because when you're below a certain age, right, if you weren't, a part of big watching races or doing different things, everybody knows the blimp. They don't necessarily know it's Goodyear tire and rubber. So I threw a challenge out there in all my town halls and with marketing team, with Laura's crew, Doug and Leah and everybody, and I was like, blimps need to sell tires, guys. Blimps need to sell tires. So they came up with this new marketing ad. It's actually pretty cute. Blimps are cool, buy tires. So these T-shirts are going a little bit viral. And then the communications team took it on themselves out on Instagram and some of the other social media channels of coming up with the blimp has a huge following on social media. And so they've come up with a lot of things here over these last couple months of just pushing it out there, being super relevant with today, especially with younger consumers. And two of the last ones they've done have more than 2.5 million views.
Oh my goodness.
So very impressed, and big props to the comms team, and big props to the blimp ops team as well, right? They're all joining in. Everybody's having a good time with it. And it's generating a new excitement for people and tying this unbelievable icon on its own back into the core business of tires. So we're excited about it.
And having some fun?
Having fun.
So Goodyear, I think, has the most winningest racing tires around the world. I think you do. You say you do. Let's say you do. How do innovations on the racetrack, and you have your Goodyear Racing shirt on today, so how does winning on the racetrack translate to selling tires? So it used to be win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Is that still the story? It is still our mantra with NASCAR. That's absolutely correct, yep. Right? And it's, as I mentioned before, there are so many of the technologies that come about, the innovations needed in racing, right? The next level of performance or the next challenge and use cases, and to be able to take those and industrialize those, whether it's for consumer tires or for commercial tires, right? A lot of the things we have, as I mentioned, the weather-ready 2s and the tread patterns for that are very much race-inspired from that aspect, both on just the wet roads, but also the cornering. The same thing with the electric drives too. A lot of learnings from that, just thinking about weight and distribution and dynamics. So a lot of our lineup is coming from the roots of racing. It was exactly the same in the OEM side of the house, right? The race enables you to experiment with things that you can then take into bigger serial production. So, and I'm a lot of a race fan in all areas, right? So from that aspect, you just have to smile and say, yes, we definitely want to be more involved in race around the world. And I think it's important for us, right? Because when we look at a limited amount of investment dollars to spend, to be able to partner and spend it in race and then industrialize it makes lots of sense. And Bill, underneath this racing shirt, I've got my Mickey Thompson race shirt on underneath that as well. So you're a 2-logo guy.
We are, yeah. I used to do a cheesy thing in my FCA Stellantis days. Is in our breaks of things on our global town halls, because the brands would get a little upset. So I would do the T-shirt change,
Oh,
right?
that's
But I'm not
fun.
going to do that on
No,
you,
not
Bill.
today, okay.
But it's but Mickey Thompson as well, like is like a super storied brand, ultimate
Sure.
enthusiast brand, and getting involved in the just the off-roading, but the racing side of the house as well. And Mickey Thompson's doing a great job in that too. We just launched in China, in 2 of the major cities, but when you think about off-road enthusiasts here in the U.S. and Canada, right? But it is growing like crazy in China, and
Really?
we just had some of the desert runs and desert events here right after I left China. I missed that by a week. But I was too tired to stay another week. But it was an amazing turnout. It was actually the biggest one in the world. Similar to Moab would be here. And so it's cool to see that developing, and really proud of the Mickey Thompson team for getting after that space as well.
Fantastic. So it is tradition on drive time, as you may or may not know, to do something we call lightning round.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you some questions, and you're going to give me a quick answer.
Okay.
I know the answer to the first one, but our audience doesn't. Would you rather renovate an old home or purchase a new one?
Well, even though I used to rent from you once upon a time, Bill, it was new, but it wasn't my forte. Old houses all the way.
If you had a day to yourself, you had no work responsibilities, what would you do?
I'd go scuba diving.
All right, so you're a certified scuba diver.
I am. I'm a certified rescue diver.
Oh, wow. What does that mean exactly, being a rescue diver?
Yeah, it means you do a lot of stupid human tricks under the water and confined spaces, and you have to fake bring in the dummies that are under the water and all this kind of stuff. But it's really a lot of fun. So my kids and I all are certified. My son's a dive master. My daughter's advanced, and I'm in the tweener zone of the rescue one. But we like to do that as a family.
Did you see the movie about the rescue of the kids in Thailand?
I did not watch it. I don't
Are you
like.
familiar
I don't
with
like.
it?
I am totally. I am. I don't like to watch any of the rescue movies about scuba because I don't want to get spooked.
Well, it's a great. We actually saw it in Chagrin. They have a documentary film.
Oh.
It wasn't the commercial movie, but a
Yeah.
documentary. It had a great happy ending. But those divers were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, I'm sure. It's those guys. They're risking their lives to save others all the time.
You can't have claustrophobia in that world.
That's right.
I also know the answer to this: a DIY or a DIFM guy.
DIY.
What is a cause you care deeply about?
Yeah, so for me, it's really Humane Society is one of them for me, and it goes back to we typically have a fleet of animals, only 2 at my house at the moment, and a 40-year-old parrot. So I don't know about that part of the rescue world, but it went heavier in the next generation. My kids on any random day will have 4 to 5 animals in their condos. So I don't know that that's the right thing either, but it's something I think is really important for us as well.
You've traveled extensively around the world. Do you have a favorite trip?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's a really tough one, right? But it's for me one of the best ones, and it goes back from being a kid. They used to have those Time Life books when we were kids, Bill, right? And I always had the one on Egypt. So about 20 years ago, I was able to go to Cairo, do the River Nile tour, get to see the pyramids, the Valley of the Kings, and all that, and not just decrepit old houses, right? But I love the historical architecture stuff and the building of things, and for me to have that opportunity to see that at that time was really cool. So it's something I'd like to do again. I'll put it on the bucket list a second go around.
Well, that's my last question for you.
All right.
Anything on the bucket list that you want to get done besides the second trip to Egypt?
Well, actually, I have signed myself up personally. Now I need to do it with pen and paper. That I would love to start dabbling in the racing world a little bit and give it a try. It's like I've been in the supplier business most of my life, right? And then at the OEM side, and now in the tire business, super close to it. It's like I need to get behind one and actually give it a try.
What kind of vehicles? Like a NASCAR car, a Formula 4?
I don't know. I've got to figure that part out, right? Because I love them all. The question is, what can I do the least damage in, Bill? Right. But I think it'll be something fun to take on, and I've given myself 24 months to try to go learn how to do it. it'll probably be in the old man slow race, but it'll be something fun to try.
Great to have you on AMN
Thanks,
Drive
Bill.
Time, sponsored by Aishan.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
AMN Drive Time is sponsored by Aishan, your trusted and reliable source for aftermarket automotive components and technology. Visit aishanaftermarket.com for more information.